Welcome to Monday. Now, over the weekend, we noticed that we have a fashionista president wearing a Stefano Ricci belt worth 425,000 Kenyan shillings. Two, a man who acknowledges prayers that they prayed in February for the rains, but forgetting that these rains are ravaging different parts of the country.
To the former president sabotaging the process of the National Dialogue Committee and Somalia joining the EAC. This is debatable. Agree to disagree. Well, good evening and welcome to yet another exciting show of Debatable. My name is Boniface Miriko and I'm with my co-host here,
Alan Hubbard, and this one is going to be quite an episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, we are in a nation where we have been told to tighten our belts, Alan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if those facts have already run. Mr. Director, can you confirm affirmative? All right. So, I don't know where we get to start this one because it's quite a long one. First, how was your week?
Well, my week has been
Is it the
my
week or the
weekend.
weekend?
My weekend.
Yeah.
My weekend. You're working 24/7. It's on a Monday.
Yeah. After seeing somebody wearing a belt worth 425,000,
Yeah.
how dare you sleep?
You cannot sleep.
Yeah.
If a belt can cost
Hiyo
425,000,
ni porote maguta.
maguta. Pale Joska.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a lot to talk about today. From the EAC also, we saw Somalia joined the EAC.
Yes.
Now the coastline for the EAC is a bit wider.
Yeah.
And we're going to discuss all the details about that, everything that was spoken about during the week, including the privatization of KCC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this has been a pride. I remember it is designed based off of some private parts of an animal.
Yes, I remember. I remember that debate.
Yeah. Probably it will no longer be our pride. But anywho, I think where to start it off this evening should be the bipartisan talks. The report was finally out.
Yeah.
And we called it on Saturday, as we always do it.
Yeah.
And we say that probably it is not going to be people-centered. Yeah. But not only is it not people-centered, but it is also creating rifts behind a whole coalition.
Yes.
What do you make of this?
Well, I went through the details of what they said that they were the agreements. For
What
the
stood
two.
out mostly for you?
Well, there were very important aspects of IBC that they are going to increase the number of the IBC officials, as well as they are going to involve everyone in coming up with the IBC officials.
Yeah.
That was a good one. But I failed to locate the cost of living in that document.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that they said that they were going to do, and we didn't see in that document. A lot of people were disappointed because what you were promised with compared to what was written down.
Yeah.
And mind you, it came in the wee hours of the night. You know, we don't like things done at night here in Kenya. You remember the president who was sworn in at night brought a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
So we don't. I don't believe the articulation of those agreements went as far to what people wanted or imagined that they can come up with. But that is true that we are seeing a rift between two factions in Azimio. We saw Eugene Malwa saying that he will not append his signature into the agreements that came out.
Yeah.
But the other parties were okay. So what's going on?
But I don't think the other parties were okay, or I don't think, or probably it's a long con because when Raila Odinga, opposition leader or former prime minister, was asked, he was like, I haven't gotten time to go through the report. So what was? I can only imagine his accent, saying that. But he said that he hasn't gotten the opportunity to go through the entire report. But once he has been able to go through it, then he'll be able to give his submissions. And even staying on the raft, NAC leader Martha Karua also came out and said, okay, I do not see this to be what we agreed on. Kalonzo Musyoka was at the center of this conversation, and Eugene Malwa apparently was also at the center of this conversation. Then if they were, okay, Kalonzo Musyoka has not mentioned or pronounced himself just yet, or his thoughts about the report, but Eugene Malwa, he has sort of showed his stance. Is he not a good negotiator that he was not able to push that for what he believed so dearly about?
Well, Alan, we spoke about how this thing can be done. And I said there are 3 ways.
Yes.
Or rather 2. We'll count them. One is we can have an agreement between all these 3 people. They can come to a table and agree on something. 2, you can have an agreement between 2 people and sideline one. This is exactly what happened during the BBI discussions. Where we had the president and the former prime minister coming to terms to whatever they wanted to agree on. They agreed and they secluded the
now president.
Yes. So it is possible. It is possible because it happened. It can happen again. That one party can be sidelined in this. And if you are the president, you also look at what you can give, what you can give and what is available. If, for example, you want to have an agreement with these parties, I believe they're not going to be agreements of a third. One party is going to say that, we got the lion's share, and the other party will say that we didn't get whatever we wanted. And it is sad because we are talking about it in terms of business, but we know that what happens behind the curtains is exactly what I'm saying. Different factions will come with their demands, and they will want their demands to be met. If these demands are not met, then it brings trouble. So in light of what happened, it is possible that the party that Eugene Malwa represented was not taken care of in the best manner. And I said, if you're the president, who will you rather appease? Is it a former president, or is it an opposition leader who still has a lot of power in your tenure?
But then, why would you sideline a former president who would hypothetically say controls half of the economy of the country that you lead? And why would you sideline a former president whose backyard is one of your biggest voting bloc? You see, all these questions are to be asked. And even as we talk about this, Kimani Ichung'wah came out and pointed an accusing finger at former President Uhuru Kenyatta. So it's already out in the public domain, so we can talk about it. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta, that he tried to sabotage the bipartisan talks. What would he have benefited if the bipartisan talks did not continue as they were stipulated? And why would he be an agitated man?
He will be an agitated man if the bipartisan talks will not have continued. Because, as I said, they had their interests at play. And these interests had to be met. If one party was not getting whatever they want, then they have to raise their voice.
So could we say, as the report stands right now, even though he's tried to sabotage it, as the report stands now, he stands to gain? Could we call it that way?
With the kind of response that we're getting from Eugene Malwa, it seems that there is one faction there that is not satisfied.
I do not want to say that Eugene Malwa is a non-factor.
He is
a non-factor in this conversation. So even if he's agitated, it's okay. I'm sounding selfish right now. I want us to focus on two people.
Yeah.
Who I would say, who I dare say, they have political mileage. The man who said that he has not read the report just as yet, and the man who is said to have tried to sabotage the process itself. And the man who was part of the release of the report, because those three have not said anything as per the moment.
The man who is saying that he's not read the report yet is a politician. And that is a political statement. He definitely knows what that report entails. He had his key people there. The likes of the minority leader was there. The likes of SKM was there. So, by any means, I know he was being briefed about what is happening, because these people were not doing everything on their own. Just like Imani Chunga was not doing everything on his own. You are on a table and discussing things that will touch on the government.
Huku chini unatuma ka text message. Wamesema hivi.
Of course. You're not at liberty to make your own decisions. You're not the president.
Yeah.
The same way, and the same applies to the opposition side. They are not at liberty to make any decisions without consultation.
Yeah.
So, I believe in my own honesty and in my own analysis that Raila Odinga knows
what is happening.
He has everything at display of what that document entails.
Yeah.
And by Kalonzo Musyoka appending his signature, that was Raila Odinga appending his signature on this.
I would think, now to sort of salvage my initial statement about Eugene Malwa, I think Eugene Malwa is up to speed of what is happening. And the gentleman has been put as a sideshow to say, just say this so that we sort of gauge the frustration.
Accepts the decision to lead this delegation, the NADCO, for the opposition side. He's putting
fancy name, yeah? NADCO.
NADCO. I wondered they even sat down and had time to have decisions, and we say that, can we go with this? Can we go with this? I'm saying
it's only a logo that we do not get.
A logo,
exactly.
And a coalition. Kalonzo Musyoka has put himself in a very tight spot with this one because his signature is already there. Even if Eugene counters this, then we'll ask ourselves, why did Kalonzo append his signature first? If it is not satisfactory, then why did you go with it first? And it's coming to light that he is between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
If today Baba comes out and say that I don't want anything to do with that report, then where does it put Kalonzo Musyoka? It puts
him in the cold.
Yes.
It puts him in the cold, but then
as a person who doesn't have the interests of the people who rioted, who demonstrated at heart.
But there's so many things that are playing out of this particular situation. Because I think on the side of the government, they literally have nothing to lose.
They don't have anything to lose. Theirs is just to defend and say that
and counter. Tuliwaambiwa kakata. I guess right now the statements of the president are in place. Let's hear what the president had to say about the bipartisan talks and the report that was released on Saturday.
Na hiyo mapendekezo yote wametoa ni sawa. Yale mambo mengine yote wamependekeza. Sasa nyinyi wabunge muende mukalie hiyo maneno, tumalizane, sisi Wakenya wengine tuungane, sasa tushirikiane na kujenga taifa letu la Kenya. Mahali wamesema tupunguze gharama ya serikali, ile watu wanaenda safari, ile watu wamesema ipunguzwe by 30%. Ingine wamesema ipunguzwe by 50%. Hiyo ya 50% nimefanya tayari kupunguza hiyo by 50%. Ile wanasema ipunguzwe by 30%, mimi napendekeza hata tuongeze ikuwe 50%, ndio tupunguze zaidi.
Kuna baadhi ya mambo ambayo hatukusikizana na tukayapendekeza. Rais na mzee Raila Odinga wazungumze waone kama wanaweza pata njia nyingine. Lakini la muhimu kabisa, tulikubaliana mambo ya uchaguzi wa 2022 iliisha.
Hiyo ripoti itakuja bunge na hao wabunge wataichangia, waipitishe ili tulete upendo na amani katika nchi yetu. We must learn how to love each other.
We as the representatives of the people of Kenya did not do justice to the issue of the cost of living that touches every Kenyan. Na kwa sababu hiyo, mimi nimesema sitaweka sahihi ile report. Sababu swala la gharama ya maisha halikushughulikiwa vile Wakenya walitarajia. We could have done more, we could have done better than we did.
That is interesting there, interesting, very interesting. That is National Assembly Speaker Moses Masika Wetangula. That is Kimani Ichung'wah, Majority Leader in Parliament, and also the voice of Eugene Malwa, who is agitated. As he is speaking there, a wild thought came into my head and my mind. What if the president, the former president, was sabotaging these talks? What if, because Eugene Malwa is a former confidant of the president, he was a CS in his government. What if Eugene Malwa is the mouthpiece of the president, of the former president, and saying, no, we are not running with this? And probably there is even a bigger crack in Azimio, where Azimio are no longer listening to their chairman. And former prime minister is going with Kalonzo Musyoka, and former president is sort of going with Eugene Malwa, and probably NARC Kenya leader Martha Karua.
And that's how alliances form. Yeah, if you disagree on something and you're both of you and in one basket, you just say,
let's split the basket.
We are friends. You know, so it is possible for these factions to come up. Of course, about Martha Karua, we've extensively spoken about Martha Karua here, and we know she started having conflicts way back, and they are now just showing up that she was not contented even before this. So for her, we understand that perhaps her ideas were not being taken up by the coalition. For the former president, I believe we all know, and as you said, I agree, that the former CS, Eugene Malwa, was a confidant. And I know that he was specifically put there to voice the
needs of the former president.
Of course, the former president. So if you are saying that Eugene is not aligning to what they came up with, then it means that it possibly means that the former president is also not satisfied with the agreements that were tabled.
Interesting. When you look at extensively those recommendations, there Kimani Ichung'wah saying that kuna vitu tulikosa kuelewana na hizo lazima vigogo wawili, that is former president, former prime minister and the president, they can meet and have discussions about those. But Kimani Ichung'wah says something very important, and which was a very big bargaining chip for the Azimio coalition, that mambo ya uchaguzi ya 2022 hiyo tulikubaliana iliisha. What does that really mean?
Well, a lot is being revealed in these side meetings that they are having in gatherings outside there. One thing is for sure is that the way things are and the political toning that is in the country right now, perhaps we can now formally say that the opposition is taking its role as the opposition and accepting that, elections were done and the outcome was clear. But I saw that they say that they need extended time in Supreme Court hearing of cases. That is election petitions for the presidency from 14 to 21 days. I don't know why what an extension of time for the Supreme Court would mean. But that is a clause that they
probably more time to get hot air.
That is that. They can come with the trailer. That's okay. I won't delve into that.
Okay.
But perhaps it will make the changes they want. They also say they want clear audits of the 2022 elections, and perhaps that is also agreed. I don't know what is remaining for the two bigwigs to speak about. Are they going to speak about the cost of living, the two of them? Is that what they are saying? Because I believe everything they wanted to achieve on elections and on petitions on the court, they are here.
And the big one that nobody is talking about, prime minister role, prime minister position, and opposition leader, opposition.
Yes, those ones have not been agreed. Maybe
they have been agreed on.
They've been agreed on.
They have been agreed on.
And now you have these two maybe being put together in a room to speak about something.
Who now takes the premier? Probably they're not even going to talk about the cost of living. Who takes the premier position?
The cost of living is left to us to talk about.
But I think, and I do not want us to belabor that conversation, because in so many shows that we talked about what the cost of living would mean and what would take to lower the cost of living. The cost of living is one of the main things that can be done to lower the cost of living is bringing the VAT on fuel from 16% to 8%. But are we ready to have that conversation? Probably not. And this is a conversation that probably we're never going to have in this country. So we can skip over that.
Unfortunately, that conversation is going really to, we have a president that is also listening to a lot of people in terms of government.
But is he listening though?
He's listening to, we want to believe that he listens to Kenyans. And as
we
know,
425,000 belt.
As we
and
know,
you tell people to tighten their belts. Definitely you're not listening to the people.
As we know, we're coming to that.
Okay,
and on that, I'll be very critical, by the way. He's also listening to people outside
forces,
this country, the multinationals, what they're saying. I believe, and as we saw the other time, that the IMF also has a hand in increasing Africa. They did that also recently for Malawi, and the devaluation of the kwacha against the dollar. So there are forces within and outside that the president has to balance between the two, and I believe the fair share of that balance for some time.
So then that would mean that former president was a little bit stubborn with the IMF when, because there is a time that the VAT was at 16%, and then the president came out and he said, okay, I've seen what Kenyans are going through, and we've decided to take back the VAT at 8%. Probably the former president was a little bit stubborn for the IMF, and now the IMF are like, okay, we have the guy that we wanted.
It is possible.
And also, of course, when you look at the people who are leading our financial institutions, when you look at the cabinet secretary, Ndungu, and the man who is in charge of the CBK, these are former employees of the IMF. So probably the IMF are facing a smooth ride in terms of passing their policies that they would need in terms of monetary affairs for the country.
As long as the president is looking west, the IMF are going to have a say. If maybe he will have. So there is, due to him also listening to the East, we had these ballooning loan debts from China, from the SGR and other projects. I heard there is a project that the Chinese are building at Kenol, and it has stopped because of 900 million or something that has not been remitted yet. So we have a lot of debt also from the Chinese. So we have to balance at the end of the day. I heard him saying that we need to borrow from ourselves. It's going to take a long time. You have to work on the economy so that we can have the capability to buy those bonds and bills and etc. so that we can borrow from us. So,
but I don't see that borrowing concept working, because there is a report that by FKE, that is Federation of Kenyans Employees, 70,000 people in the past 1 year, in this year alone, have lost their jobs. So I don't know where that money that we're going to get to borrow from ourselves. But today there was an impromptu cabinet meeting where the president called for a meeting to have a conversation with his cabinet and make let me just call them impromptu decisions about the El Nino rains. The president there quipped that these are results of prayers from February, but also we saw stances by governors saying that we've not received funds for El Nino. Then Mombasa governor and James Orengo for Siaya also weighed into this conversation and called out the deputy president. The deputy president says that money was released, but then later on comes back and says money was not released. Counties must tighten their belts. And then the president today holds a meeting and says the government is going to look for 7 billion Kenyan shillings to sort of rebuild roads that have been swept away by rains. Then there is a question: what happened to the initial 10 billion? But before we continue with that, it's interesting to hear how the president was speaking about this whole conversation as he was wearing his 425,000 Kenyan shillings belt. SR, let's hear. But do you know, okay, let's hear what he had to say, and then where I will tell you where the SR comes from.
All right.
As that is being prepared, SR, you know what it stands for?
Tell us.
Samuel Ruto.
Wow. That's what he's going to say? That is not Stephanie Ritchie?
No, that's not Stephanie Ritchie. Probably he saw himself in that belt. Samuel Ruto. You wear your own belt.
That's a good argument. That's actually solid.
Yeah. So you can spend anything. Even if I found a belt or a watch that has initials Alan Hubbard and I can afford it.
What if he says that this is not Stefano Ricci? This is just Samuel Ruto. This is just locally made.
No, but do we have the capability to kill crocodiles in this country?
Have you verified that that is a crocodile?
But fashionistas were able to tell us. This is a belt that is rated by
But
Vogue.
the logo is Stefano Ricci.
Yes, Stefano Ricci, and it's a gold buckle. That's not just any other. It's not sprayed with a gold color. It's a gold buckle.
It's a fortune. Wow. Well, I'm speechless the way I am. Are we going to? All right. So I think it's. Are we going to discuss about the belts right now?
No. We're not even talking about the belt. The belt just brought in that conversation of
But I have
how
something
he
to
said.
say about it anyway.
You have something to say?
I have.
Take it.
It was unfortunate for the president
Yeah.
of the Republic of Kenya, who I voted for, to wear such a belt at these tough economic times.
But do you think the president is critical of looking at all these things that he does? Probably he's unawares.
It was very, if you're a leader, you're leading your people.
Do not forget the 1.5 million Kenyan shilling watch as well.
Yeah, and the shoes 20,000 or something. It's as a leader, you're supposed to be in connection with your people. If you're wearing we know that you can afford it. By all means,
Do not slap it in front of the people.
Yeah, you're a billionaire, we know. So you don't have to show the disconnect between you and the people you are leading, because that is a clear disconnect that you are going through tough economic times, but I am okay. I can wear such expensive garments and just walk and show it, pulling up the belt when he's speaking. It is that was really sad. And
there is a Nigerian clip that I saw, and it's very fancy with Nigerian billionaires. Yeah, they always talk as they swing their legs. Just to show this is opulence, my brother. You can only afford it when you have money.
Yeah. It was sad. I really did not like that from the president, and I believe that is something that should be changed. We've seen even Murkomen wearing watches and shoes and shirts. It's not supposed to be like that. As a politician, being a politician comes with a lot, and it comes with public scrutiny. And we are right to scrutinize even how
because of
they
public interest.
Yeah. If you are maybe a private company leader,
CEO,
that one will not be a problem to us. But you are a public leader. It means that you have the keys to the treasury where our money is. Then please just resonate with us and wear decently. We're not saying that you should wear cheap. You are our president, of course. Look good. Wear Kenyan-made brands. Try to...
I think you see those Masai belts.
Yeah.
That have Masai.
Yeah. Should try that and market it, by the way.
Absolutely.
Market
Absolutely.
it,
Yeah.
and even tell people that you can buy this for 30,000. If it is Kenyan, that's okay. That's totally fine.
But not a brand from the
Not
West.
a global brand.
But he's going West, so what do you expect? He has to fit in.
No. It's too much.
Don't you think that, would you say that the president was also insensitive in his utterances in that clip where he spoke about the rains and him saying that watu walidhani maombi zetu hazitafanya kazi, hii ni mvua imekuja kulingana na ile maombi ambayo tuliomba February. And this is the same person who said that the rains are not going to be heavy.
This time he's trying to change the
narrative,
but this time I think it's not going to work the way he wants it to work, because you cannot say that we prayed for this and people are dying. People are dying. Even if we are praying for rains, we don't pray for
rains that will kill people.
It can only go so much to be a blessing. For it to now turn out to be something else. This is not a blessing, because crops are being ruined. And he himself said the other time that we are not going to have an El Nino that is going to ruin our crops and infrastructure. But right now we are having rains that are too much. Even too much rain is
Garissa,
not good.
the road connecting Garissa to Nairobi swept away entirely.
Cut off, So it's unfortunate to hear such statements from the president. We expect the president to and his team to do fast response to people, give them whatever they need, the aid. We are not interested with these wrangles that who has money and who doesn't have money.
Who is supposed to spend less?
We pay tax. We pay taxes. We expect that my tax here in Nairobi will go and sort that person in Mandera who doesn't have enough food, so that our country can project itself to the world that we are at least, if not 100%, we are some high percent of sustainability in our own self.
But where is the disconnect? Because then that is the question that will be next to ask. Where is really the disconnect? Because the president says this, the deputy president says this. Initially it was 10 billion. Now the cabinet has said that we're going to look around and find 7 billion. 10, 7, initially, what happens? I hear there is even I don't know if it's a cabinet secretary, but there is a leader, higher prominent, who say that civil society now are also supposed to come in and assist. Yes, we understand civil society also have a responsibility to play in the country. But the government, you said initially that you're prepared. And we saw you buy boats. We've not seen these boats in action going to rescue people.
There shouldn't be a disconnect anyway, because if it is one government, then we assume that it's one treasury. These are is a single coffer. How much do you have as contingency, and how much do you have as other monies that you can pull from different funds to give to these people at this time? And that is very important. As we discussed the other time, that contingency funds are very important, but they get misused all the time, and that is the problem, because these are just monies that are seated somewhere. They're not being used, and it's very tempting. If your government, the key to the coffer is very easy to access, then those are the funds that often get stolen, the contingency fund, because it is not easy to get disasters in a country, but once in a while you get disasters, and this money has to be used, and that is the problem now, that we are seeing that perhaps this money was used in some way and they're trying to cover up.
Then there is even a commenter, a channel lover, who commented that we are making so much sense when we're talking about contingency funds, but he quipped that we should not forget that a state like California in the United States has a GDP that is probably 7-10 times of Kenya. So as we talk about contingencies, we also be mindful. But there is something that you talked about, coffers, and then there is a call and sort of an ultimatum that Parliament has given top management of our financial institutions, that is a Treasury and a CBK governor. They have been told it's either you change the trajectory of the shilling in the country, or you get impeached in a month's time. How viable is this? And will the Kenya Kwanza government accept to this?
It will not be easy as an economist to think that you can change all this in a month, because little can happen in a month, if at all anything, to change the drastic trajectory of an economy. But there can be signs, just little signs, for you to stabilize the economy, because I gather that people in Kenya always look at the dollar against the shilling. They can play with that. That is one. They can try to stabilize that one. And, you know, that one can be stabilized in different ways that some will not even reflect on the economy, actually. You can just stabilize it artificially. The way they say that it was being stabilized artificially. And then they come out and say, you see, the dollar is stable. But that will not reflect in the actual sense of the economy on the ground, you know. So if you want really to change the entire economy, you have to take time. They can. I think it's a good call by the members of parliament that we have now a parliament that is really concerned about what is happening. We are concerned as well because we are wondering what is happening to the shilling against everything else. Even if it is a country that is formed today, the shilling.
Wow, just wow. We are not doing that. We are not that badly off.
so they need to do something about this because it is making people to have losses, etc. But I know that what people will also be concerned about are the prices that they are facing. Inflation is one. Inflation is a very important thing for them to touch on.
Yeah.
And, well, it's going to take time, but it's a very good call. I don't believe the government will accept to be the whipped of these two people because they were strategically placed by this regime. And to find someone else who will match that energy is not easy. But it will be a good show if they do something about it. It will be a very good show.
But you see, Bonnie, I don't think it is supposed to take a lot of time. And this is where I will always go back to instances or thoughts that I've had initially in these shows that if at all the effects of what the government is putting in place, you know, we underestimate the value of an entire year. Yeah, we are downplaying that. But one thing I agree is that you cannot flip an economy in a year. I remember the deputy president quipped that you cannot change what the damage that is done in 10 years in a single year. But you can have signs and symptoms that this thing can flip in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
But we are not seeing any of those signs. So then there is a question, or there is a clear indicator, talking now like a programs person, there is a clear indicator that the things and policies that you're putting in place, they are not working in your favor. Because if you have a G2G that buys fuel, let me just give a synopsis of how I read about how this G2G thing is supposed to work.
Okay.
The oil is not paid by the Kenyan government directly. There is a commercial bank in the country that is single-handedly supposed to pay the what? Let's say the UAE, who are supplying us with the oil. Then once the commercial bank pays, then the oil marketers collect the money from the fueling stations. So fuel comes into the country. A commercial bank pays the company or the country that has sent in the oil. That is done. Then fuel is given to oil marketers. They take it to the fueling stations. The oil marketers come back and collect this money, and then they channel it through the commercial bank. So that now the commercial bank has done what? Has now gets to pay the oil marketers. What does that mean? It means that the oil marketers will not look for dollars in the economy or in the country to pay where the oil has come from. So the oil marketers will collect money in Kenyan shillings. They will give it to the bank. The bank will triangulate to dollars, and then it will pay the oil suppliers. If then that is the case, then a commercial bank will have an influx of dollars because it can buy currency, and it can afford it. So then there is no ripple effect that is created in whatever dollars is in circulation in the country, that remains stable.
Yeah.
But then that is not the case because the dollar is continuing to do what? To skyrocket, and it is going low in other countries. So then that shows you that the mechanisms that have been put in place, probably they're not working. Then it would not be ill-fated or it would not be bad for you to change, just to have a slight change of strategy so that you see that you are heading into the right direction.
That is true. That is, I agree with you, and that is a very good analysis of how the G2G works. I can also add on a different mechanism that they can employ for this 1 month.
Yeah.
Because now
There
between
is
them and unemployment,
it's only a month.
up
It's
to
only
Christmas.
31 days.
So
They might eat Christmas unemployed. Yeah.
I think the government can help them by showing that they are taking measures to reduce the money that is being leaking in corruption.
Yeah.
That is one point that this country fails always about corruption. We've not seen radical steps from this government
Yeah.
to
Only
eradicate
rhetorics.
to eradicate corruption, because we've seen the president saying that they want one channel to remit money. Maybe that was targeting corruption in one way or another, but that is not enough. You know, I've remembered
Or
what
it would be also put them in a single basket where we can see it properly so that we can take it away.
you know. I remember what President Magufuli, may God
They
rest
let-
his peace.
yeah.
Yeah. So I remember what he was doing in Tanzania about corruption. That he was very radical about it. He could go to a parastatal impromptu visits and ask questions. What is this happening? Why is this not happening? Etc. etc. So the country sees that you are doing something in regards to safeguarding this money so that
Yeah.
it can be used.
You don't stand by the roadside and point.
Yeah, you don't. And you know, I think it's in our culture also that Kenyans, we're very
Vitisho
lenient.
baridi.
Yeah, we are very lenient on people. We don't want to press people because if you press them, maybe they're going to
Say a thing or two.
yeah, about you. But that is a very good step that the government can take to reduce corruption. Let us see heads rolling in this. If someone has done something, and we saw that there are some few KFS officials
Who were fired.
that were fired, but how is the case going? We need to see. If they took money,
Is it refunded?
is it refunded? If they're not, then they should go to jail. That is a crime, you know. So if we see such instances, then we'll know that our economy will go to the right direction. Yeah.
Interesting. I think we've belabored that enough. And I think this will be the last conversation that we're having for today.
Yeah.
What is happening in the education sector? This is quite some confusion. Parents, it reminds me when I took a good report card home, my mom would wonder, is this your report card? Yeah. So guys who did not sit for Kenya Sign Language, they got marks for Kenya Sign Language. Quite interesting. What is not happening at the Ministry of Education?
As we were talking before this show, there is always a rush by the ministry. I don't know where it came from some time back. I think from CS Matiang'i. There is this
But
rush.
then I would vouch for CS Matiang'i.
Yeah,
They were
it's
not
okay.
they were not so much incompetence. I would dare call it incompetence.
Yeah, you know, someone
Because
begins.
Parliament is also calling for a remark of this particular exams. That means more money to the taxpayer.
Yeah, you know, someone can begin a formula, some way of working, and he knows how to do it. But when some other people come in, it becomes a confused formula. And you know,
Confused elements.
there is this rush that the ministry always has in marking these exams, just to show that you are functioning as a ministry, because you're waiting all year just for those exams so that you can mark them fast and be praised that you did an awesome job. As I was saying, there is no harm in the government spending a week or two to mark these exams and do a very good job so that people will be
Contented with the results.
contented with the results that they got. So there's no need. There is no need for someone to rush to mark these exams. And they are not electronically marked, you know. If they were electronically marked, then that will be another thing, because they'll say this is too slow.
Yeah.
But these are people you've employed. Is either you increase the number of people who are marking these exams, or maybe you just extend the time so that they can mark. Because I saw a school that will have, I think it was SSRE. All of them have 75. That is not possible. Unless there was a
And it's,
screen.
only, and it's only two people who copied.
Yeah. Unless there was a screen there telling you put A, put D, all these are multiple choice.
And with the little that I know about marking exams, that would have been a discrepancy in its own. How would you be seated in different corners and all of you get the same marks?
Same marks.
Yeah.
It does not happen. It cannot happen. So,
But I think there is a problem here. Nuro Kanga caused all of this.
Nuro Kanga did not get his results. We are wondering. The nation is tensed.
Yeah, the nation. Wanaweza kuwa nachukua nyota ya MCA
We need the servers
2027.
open.
Yeah.
We need the servers open for yeah, akona nyota. So
But that would be quite a story. That
is.
would be quite a story.
it is.
Yeah.
It's either he tells us how he did the exam,
Yeah.
or the NEC tells us where the results of Nuru Okanga are, because we are very, very eager to see the results of
Yeah.
Nuru Okanga. As I was saying, the ministry has a lot to do in marking these exams, because these discrepancies have never been seen in this country. We always see maybe one or two schools having such grades,
Yeah.
and people have already celebrated these results. We don't know what will happen, but
I even said that probably the top student, not jinxing it, but probably if Arimak is done, then we might find that the top student was indeed probably not even the top student. Yeah.
it's possible.
If Arimak happens.
That is because that is inevitable actually. If a remark happens,
Yeah.
if there is ancient composition,
Yeah.
it will mark different, and number one and number two are usually just a mark above the other. So
No, Pate Nuro Kanga ndiye alikuwa top student.
Nuru Okanga, you are the top student.
Just a little bit to go across the African continent before we close it. Somalia joined the EAC, extending the coastline for the East Africa community. What does this mean for, I don't want to use the word Horn of Africa, but what does it?
Conflict.
What does it mean for Somalia? The president said that this is a turning moment for them because they're looking at more economical prosperity right now, because now their market where they can sell their produce it has grown even bigger, and all of that.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing, but then also people are asking if the EAC was ready to admit Somalia. For Kenya, I think it's a good thing for Kenya, because
How is it a good thing?
because Somalia is our neighbor. We have a very long border with Somalia, and if Somalia is part of the EAC, then Somalia's problem are not going to be only Kenya's problem.
They're going to be a unison problem.
An EAC problem. So, and there's a mission that is ending in Somalia, ATMIS.
Yeah.
And someone was saying, interestingly, that if ATMIS ends, then EACRF can take its forces back to Somalia. It can be a reason for EACRF to now
Because
take.
then you would want to keep EAC as a bloc secure.
Yes. So that will be a reason for Kenya now again to send its troop, because Kenya is the neighboring country. It has to send its troop, and maybe Uganda also, because we've seen Al-Shabaab attacks also in Uganda, and maybe Tanzania can also join in and to maintain peace in Somalia.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing, because I know Somalia, we have to embrace the country, so that if we keep on secluding this country, it will not be to the benefit of anyone. We have to embrace it so that they can feel they're part of the East African, so that they can now focus on growth other than
and rebuilding.
trying to defend itself and etc., feeling secluded. So it's a win for Somalia, as per my take, and it's a win also for the East African community if they can at all be able to stabilize Somalia, because I know Somalia has a lot of potential with that very long coastline, and I know they've not done oil exploration to the extent. It looks like a country that will have a lot of oil. I'm not just saying, but I know Somalia can be a very, very
And probably that's why the war has refused to end.
Yeah, it could be the reason. It has a very, very good potential to East Africa, to itself as well, because now the EAC will now reach almost at the Gulf. It's a good thing.
Interesting. South Sudan took up the chairmanship at the EAC.
Yeah, for the first time.
The president of South Sudan's Salva Kiir saying that now we are very happy and we are going to be able to pay our dues in time. Yeah, we are no longer going to wait.
Yeah.
Kulipwa in madeni. Tunafuliza. Yeah.
Unajua ukiwekwa mkubwa wa chama lazima utoe pesa.
That's a good one.
Lazima pesa utoe.
Yeah.
So it's good that now we have South Sudan, and it shows diversity and the willingness to have new ideas. We hope that South Sudan will give us better ideas. They've been saying that they've been sidelined for quite some times on passports and etc. So it's their time now to articulate these issues that they think the EAC has been sidelining them about. And perhaps 1 year or 2 years after this, they're going to hand over to someone else. I believe that within these 1-2 years, they're also going to focus on how to better stabilize as well the country and gain, because they've been saying that they've not been gaining as much as other countries are gaining. So it's their chance now to try and address these issues.
We're coming through this real quick. Hamas, Israel hostages were exchanged over the weekend. Though Israel reported, though Hamas said that there were top soldiers or top leaders in Hamas that were killed by Israel. Is this continuing? Is this hostage exchange going to continue, and is it going to bear fruit? And probably might we see a seizure of fire and hostility in that strip?
Well, they said that they are going to withhold a few hostages because they saw that Israel violated the agreements of the ceasefire by continuing to bomb and also making inroads in Gaza. So if we are assessing that situation, perhaps we can say that it's still volatile. I've been watching a few people saying that their loved ones are there. Some have already lost their lives, the hostages. So it's a tough situation even to try and analyze what is going to happen later, because it seems that these two factions do not trust each other at the end of the day. So while one will say that I'll give you this amount of hostages, then you can really not be sure that they will release that number of hostages. Second, we don't even know if these hostages have been killed. If they've been killed by who? You know, because Israel also bombs Gaza. And these hostages are also in Gaza. So it's a very tricky situation, but we hope that the lives of all people, regardless of
hostage, not hostage,
children, adults, will be kept and safeguarded as per the human rights law.
For the very first time, I saw an interesting headline from Ukraine. They are now targeting rebuilding, and they sidelined, I think they put aside 63 trillion. Is it 63 trillion US dollars or I think 63 trillion dollars thereabout to rebuild the havoc in Ukraine. Is this rhetoric that the war is done and over in Ukraine, or that is now a narrative that are sort of trying to be shaped?
Well, the attention has not been on them for quite some time now. President Zelensky was also to meet Prime Minister Netanyahu. I don't know how that went, but you know, if we don't have the attention of the world, then the money is not going to flow to you. Unfortunately or fortunately, people are now focusing on Israel, Gaza. That means that whatever is happening there, it has no high value. And because all these processes are political, for President Biden to release money to go to Ukraine, it has to have political will. If it doesn't have that political will, then the money will not be released. And that political will comes by how the newsrooms shape that discussion. The narrative. So if it is not evoking emotions, then it's going to be very difficult for them to have the funds. So perhaps it is a diversion tactic to show that, you know, we are cool. We're cool.
We're here.
We are here.
You've neglected us, but we are here.
Yeah.
All right. This brings us to the end of this day's debatable, agree to disagree. And this is what I would like to leave you with. You might be suffering alone, and your dear politician might not have you in their mind. So if this becomes a reality to you, then the best thing that you can do is sit down with your household, even if ukiwa peke yako, sit down and put austerity measures in place to make sure that you cushion yourself from whatever circumstance that you might be facing as you go into the festive, but also as you go into the new year. And just to remind you that the dollar right now is at 153, if not 54 Kenyan shillings, and it is